What's good, everybody? It's your boy Dkay, and we are back finally with another episode of Rude Love. And we got my boy Sami. What's going on, bro?
I'm doing well, man. Just digging into AI these days. But besides that, everything is good.
Yeah, man. This is a very special individual because he was about to be my brother-in-law at one time. So he's basically already family.
Yeah, man. I mean, we've been at it now for what, like over a decade, easily.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wild, man.
Yeah.
Like time flies,
Absolutely.
you know.
And it's a beautiful thing that, it was love, that allowed us to cross paths. I think that's actually an amazing thing, right? Super organic, you know what I mean? And so just because of that, like I've seen you transition through different stages in life.
Yeah.
Has been dope to see. This is like somebody who I already speak super highly of in all scenarios, right? And so now we are, doing business together. Just super locked in on the same page in a lot of ways. And I mean, it makes sense because after all, we did date two sisters, right? So
Yeah, man. I mean, when we reflect on just our relationship over the past, 12 years, it's funny because, yes, I did change a lot. And I think not just as a human being, but also for, going from like a corporate job to becoming an entrepreneur. And I think really that's when you and I started to see eye to eye with a lot of things, because then I started to understand like what you do, right? Like you've been an entrepreneur since day one, since the moment I met you,
right.
right? And it took me a while to be able to take that leap into doing my own thing. And I think from there, we spent like years trying to figure out how we can just get more into sync
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to work. But what that did was it created a brotherhood,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And yeah, I always say to like everyone that I have my brother at home,
Mm-hmm.
right? But you have been my brother, like literally from another mother, and like it's just that same sort of feeling that I get when I'm sitting with you, as I'm sitting with my brother. It's the same thing, which is difficult to even articulate because that's how close we have been even before we started doing business together. So now, when you get that type of a dynamic who's also now aligned with your, core values and the type of shit that you're trying to do in the world of business,
Mm-hmm.
like it's so rare.
So rare.
So rare, man.
Yeah. Now, I can safely say that in all the years that I've done music, I've done different businesses and all that kind of stuff, I've never had such a synergy like this. You know what I mean? So, again, every day I'm thankful. I know I'm blessed, every single day, even though we work ridiculous hours, right? Like ridiculous hours. I still wake up, excited and just overall passionate and just, thankful for even being able to be in this, situation, bro. Cause we're literally making our dreams come true.
Yeah, man. I think that realistically is like fundamentally who an entrepreneur is at the end of the day, right? Like an entrepreneur is that person who gets here at 10 in the morning on a Sunday, and it is 8 o'clock, like
Yeah.
8 p.m., right? Like who does that on a Sunday? People who just don't even operate, within those societal norms,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like,
Yeah.
and I mean, like this is, maybe we talk about this on this, maybe we don't, but I think it is important to talk about the concept of balance,
Mm.
because a lot of our potential partners,
Right.
past, present, future, it takes a special person to understand the fact that an entrepreneur doesn't necessarily always have balance.
Right.
Right?
Absolutely.
Because if we were balanced, we would be average.
Right.
But we don't want to be average.
We don't want to.
So we don't care about balance.
Yeah. And there's literally nothing that's gonna make us, do it, because at the end of the day, we're wired for something different, right? And so somebody who's gonna be with an entrepreneur really has to understand that, yeah, you are dating the person, but you're also dating everything that comes with that person, which is this is a highly ambitious individual, and that is, at the end of the day, it's, I think women want that type of person, but at the same time, can you deal with and can you accommodate what comes with that, right?
Yeah, I hear you, man. I think it really takes that special person, oftentimes an individual who also is an entrepreneur, I feel like.
That's the thing, right? Like, that's the thing I've been thinking about lately is like, I don't know if it could happen any other way. I try to think about it. What would be the scenario? Because women are typically not entrepreneurs, right? So it's hard to find that individual.
Yeah.
Even the ones that claim that they, do this and that,
There's a difference between like a self-proclaimed boss bitch,
Right.
And a businesswoman,
100%.
right, and an entrepreneur. So I think that is the first thing, right? Which is like, I'm sorry, like unless you know the struggle of in the beginning, especially not even knowing if you can survive, who cares about a month, like 5 more days, because you don't know where the money is going to come from.
100%.
And then as it expands, then your overhead goes up. So now you're thinking about, okay, well, I don't care about 5 days anymore, but I need to figure out a plan for like 6 months, then like 12 months. And then in your mind, you're like, okay, well, I got to do like, I put my name down for like a $1.5 million in revenue this year. So it's not even about 5 days anymore, any of that shit, because we're past that. We're now like, 5-6 years in business. Now it's about, okay, I have staff, right? So I have salespeople. I have like operations people that are incentivized through company performance KPIs. So like that 1.5 is not even me anymore. It's nothing to do with me. It's about, okay, well, we built this community, we built this business, and every single thing that we do every single day is to make sure that we stay true to the commitment of what we put down.
Right.
And bro, like that is like, I mean, it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Right? So
100%. 100%. Like, it's one of those things where, this is the thing, right? Women, they want a high value man, meaning you want him to make a lot of money, you want him to be good looking, he's got to be, in the gym, all of these things. But at the same time, at what cost, right? Like, it took something to build that individual. So if you are not willing to go through that process with them, then at the end of the day, like, like, for example, let me ask you this. When you get to where you want to be, right? Meaning that, I mean, it already happens now, but at the same time, let's just say, we're not stopping, right? But when women are just jumping in your DMs even more than they already are now, right?
Yeah.
And you're just happy you've accomplished everything, you've been through the mud, are you really going to, at that point, find some girl and then just wife her? Like, would you do that? Like, because, I mean, that's the person that they want to be married to, right? And you know what I mean? Like, what do you feel about that?
Like, here's my thing. So it doesn't really matter how much money guys like us are making, because it's never about money to like truly someone who wants to build something beautiful. It's never about money. It's always about, okay, the next thing. Because like, let's say, for example, over the next 2 to 3 years, we take this business up to an 8-figure company. And then we have like, a high 8-figure exit, for example, right? What do we do with that? It's not like we're going to retire. We're now going to go on to the next thing. Maybe it's
Exactly.
SaaS, right?
Right.
So the thing is, guys like us, we'll literally never stop,
Never.
right? Like is that guy, what's his name, of Virgin Mobile, the CEO, right? Like one of the richest people on the planet. Does he stop? No, he's like actively doing things still.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to,
Right.
but like that's just the person on the inside.
100%. Look at Donald Trump. The man, he already won in life, and now he's got to go and try and be the president of like the United States, not just once, but twice. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, this is what I'm saying. When you're dealing with somebody who's wired a certain way, they're just always going to be that way. You know what I mean? And so, you know, when you get there, like, are you going to really want to settle down, or are you going to probably have like 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or endless amounts of these girls, right? And it's just like, I think the only real way is to be able to meet that person through the mud, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's the only, because at that point, how do I know if you are real? How do I know if you're the one when everybody's saying the exact same thing and they're all dimes?
And that's why that's an extremely difficult question. Is how do you know you don't know, right? And because you don't know, you will have a substantial guard that's up.
Right.
And so maybe money is not really that big of a motivator, that makes you want to like protect it or anything like that. Like it just flows everywhere. But it's you're guarded with the emotion,
Right.
right? So and so people just don't understand at that point that, okay, just because you have a good conversation at a fancy restaurant, whatever the case might be, doesn't mean that my guards have dropped, because I'm always protecting one thing and one thing only, which is just my mental peace.
Right.
Right? Because that flows everything else in my life.
Absolutely.
So if you take away from that,
yeah,
it doesn't matter who you are.
right.
I can't do it.
100%, bro. That's literally what it is. And it's crazy because, I could be talking to the baddest girl, right?
Yeah.
Which, you know who I'm talking about, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if you got my mind, like I there's no peace with you. So how am I going to be talking to you about random shit, like, honestly? And to you, it might be important, and I'm sure it is, to be honest. But when we're talking about making $1 million, $1.5 million, and then selling the company for like over 10 million, these little things that, you're talking about, they're just not that important. And really just being able to have somebody who is able to like understand that, you know what I mean?
And I think also, what you're trying to say here, bro, is like you have to be just a certain personality to complement what it is that drives you, right? And I think that's one of the biggest things that I look for, which is like, okay, not words, but like action. Right? Like, what are you yourself doing in your life? I don't expect anyone like someone I'm dating, for example, to have anything together at all. That's like my and it's fucking hilarious how a lot of these girls have just like, oh yeah, he's got to be making like a fucking $1 million and drive a range and this and that. Like, that's the last thing that I look for,
Right.
And but what I do look for is, okay, do you have something that you believe in? And then how passionate are you about that something that you believe in? Is it community? Is it I don't know, like arts? Like
Right.
is it maybe, making a significant impact at to a particular cause of yours?
Right.
And then, okay, so if we know that, how passionate are you about that? Because unless you have at least that within you, you won't ever understand who I am.
Right.
And it's funny, bro, because a lot of times I've gone through those instances where, okay, like on paper, this person is perfect. Okay, like they're a fucking dime when you look at them. Um, but then it's just the day is nonchalant,
Right.
I gotta sleep in a little bit and like, yeah, chill a little bit with my dog maybe, and like,
Yeah.
kind of sift through a bunch of different like job platforms to see what I like, what I don't like. Like where's the fire, man? Where's the passion?
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference maker. Is like if someone has passion, like you automatically as an entrepreneur, you relate to them.
Hmm.
And if you don't, it's just like, well, fuck. How much can you talk about? I don't know, fucking like what's that? Love is blind.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, come on, man.
Exactly.
Right?
It's crazy because recently somebody just asked me, a girl just asked me, what do you do for fun? Right. And I was like, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make it up. You know what I mean? So I'm just like, well, I don't do anything for fun.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that I'm not having fun. But for me, if there's not a goal behind something and I'm just doing it to do it, it's not
Why
fun.
do it? Yeah, it's not fun.
It's not fun. And actually, work is fun for me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, whatever I'm doing is fun because I want to do it. And that's the thing that makes me who I am, which is that I don't care if I'm currently making a lot of money or if I'm not, like, I'm making nothing. At the end of the day, if I'm spending this life that I only get one of doing something that I don't want to do, then I'm not going to do it. It just doesn't work for me, right?
Yeah.
So that's why for me, everything that I do is fun. Literally, I'm having fun from the time that I wake up to the time that I go to bed. I've been having fun all day long, like today. You know what I mean?
Bro, that's the thing, which is if someone, like a girl that you're dating who is even in like I don't know, like a prestigious position at her career, right? And like maybe they're like an executive at a company. Ultimately, at the end of the day, like you're living for the weekend, right? Because you know that you're gonna clock out at 5 o'clock, and if you clock out at 8 o'clock, it's not because you wanted to; it's because you gotta, present certain deadlines to your boss that you're meeting in a meeting the next morning,
Right.
right? So you just can't wait for that fucking week to be over, and we can't wait for the next week to start. You and I,
Yo.
right? Because we're like, holy fuck, we moved needles over this weekend.
Exactly.
Right. So that difference and I want to be very careful when I say that there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
It's just that you can't be that person and also expect to now merge or like marry or like find someone who isn't doing that.
Right.
Right. So for example, if there's two people that are like high level, corporate executives, then they have relatability, right? So they can bitch to each other about the fact that they hate their fucking boss,
Right.
right? But they'll never make the decision to actually stop doing that, go through the fucking mud like I did, and build something from the scratch that took me like 5, actually 6 years, right? To
Absolutely.
properly get to that level. So that's the thing. If you're here, you just can't expect someone here. Nor should you be okay with someone here.
Right.
You just have to understand that you're at this level, and you'll find someone at that level, whether it's financially, mentally, spiritually, all of that stuff. There has to be a synchronicity
Right.
in all of those things.
100%. And it's crazy because, like instead of, I feel like the girls, like the women that I run into, they think that the prettier they are, the better guy or the, you know what I mean, that they're going to get. And at the end of the day, the sad reality of it is that, yeah, maybe you got a guy that does make more money, but he's not the dude that you actually want, because you want more or less a man's man, somewhat of an alpha or whatever it is. Like, you're going to get bored. And that's why at the end of the day, you do all this shady shit that like women do. And we see it all the time because usually they're in our DMs or they're, you know what I mean? So it's just like, it's crazy. I mean, I had this one chick that I was just talking to. She was telling me about how paid her, like ex was, you know what I mean? Like he
Right.
when they broke up, she was, selling shit and just living off of that because she had so much shit worth so much money. You know what I mean?
Right.
But at the same time, you're over here, like interested
thing,
in
right?
me.
Like,
you know what I mean? Like what?
Okay, so you got what you wanted, yet you're still needing to rely on merchandise to make a living.
Yeah.
So did you really get what you wanted? Maybe you didn't.
Exactly.
Right, because your intentions were malicious.
Right.
Right. And
parasitic.
Oh my God. What a word, bro.
Yeah.
Fucking parasitic.
Yeah.
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 And so if you know that on the inside, you just know that you get what you put out in this universe.
Right.
So if you are so obsessed with finding someone who's gonna fucking fly you out, this and that. I mean, you can get flown out too. That's the thing, very easily.
Right.
But then that's not your guy though.
Right.
So like, if you're okay getting, going back and forth between like a bunch of dudes just to catch a couple of private, flights, like what happens is that clock like stops eventually.
Right.
Right. So like, cause now that dude is like on to the next, right?
Yeah.
So you're like depreciating your value. Like every single person has so much value to offer.
Right.
If they're just authentic about it, man. Like, and that's the thing. Like, if someone is making like, I don't know, like $100 million a year, the last thing that they care about is someone who is going to validate them for the amount of money that they're making. No,
Right.
they just care about someone who is in line with their values. They think the same way. They're loyal.
Yeah.
Right. And that's really for me, that's all I care about, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you think the same way. All right. So you're going to appreciate it when, I have like a 16, 17 hour day because I just had to do it. And instead of asking me where I am, when I'm going to be home, all that shit, you're going to ask me, hey, can I help you out with anything?
Yo,
can I run something around for you? Or like, yo, what do you need help with?
that's music to my ears, literally.
Dude. So, and I have had that, by the way. And it is
speak
like,
on that.
fuck, man, it is one of the most beautiful things just on the planet and the thing is that the person has to be an entrepreneur, right?
That's the thing. I know.
I've evaluated all options and I've been through enough shit to know that if you have someone who is planning trips,
right,
like that next trip, or trying to figure out what we're gonna do over the weekend, and not asking you, like, yo, what's going on, man? Like, how many deals did you close? Like, I've that to me is like, dude, like, did you hit 100K this month?
Yo.
Okay, fuck. Well, like, what do we got to do, right?
Yeah, what can I do to help?
What can I do to help?
It's crazy that, like, to be honest, these things, right? Like, as this person, I feel like am I asking too much or like all this stuff, right? But at the end of the day, like, because the thing is, right, is what you will run into is when a woman likes you enough, she'll do whatever, you say, or she'll do whatever she thinks you should like or whatever, right? But put yourself in that in your man's shoes. What does he say he actually wants out of life, and what are you doing to add to that, right? Because if you're not adding to that, you're subtracting from that, right?
Yeah, and that's the last thing anyone wants.
I mean, honestly,
someone to take good things away.
Yeah, because no high value man is gonna look at a woman and say, "Oh, well, she's so fine though, right?" Like whenever she comes back from the spa, she's just looking so fire, and the nails that she just got. Honestly, I'm gonna have to leave work early, Sami. I know we got these deadlines, but she said she just got a tan, so it's kind of time to go. Like, it just doesn't happen, bro.
No,
you know what I mean?
No, it doesn't. And I think that's where really you hit the point there, bro, because when you try to satisfy someone versus try to add value to their lives, those are two different things. when you try to please someone or satisfy someone, you're compromising your self-worth.
100%. I
And
don't like it. I
no
don't
one
want
likes
it.
that. No one likes someone who's gonna bend over backwards.
No.
I don't want that. I like, bro, when a girl can actually challenge me on my thought process, and you know me, like we have
Yeah.
debates back and forth all the time. Like I just never say yes or no until I have like a proper understanding of the situation at hand, right?
Right.
So if someone can challenge me intellectually,
Right.
that is the biggest game changer for me because I know that
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be stimulated intellectually. And if
Right.
I'm not stimulated intellectually, you could be the baddest bitch out there. Like you
Mm.
could be like a dime, right? Like perfection, like everything ever, physically speaking, you may have.
Right.
But if you don't have the capacity to like stimulate me intellectually, then, it's so short lived.
100%.
And I've been through that multiple times where I'm just like, man, like, fuck.
Yeah.
It's just not happening, right? It's sad, but it's the reality.
Yo, it really is, bro. Holy, yo, you hit the nail on the head, man. Like that intellectual stimulation, right? And it's like, I don't know. I see a lot of people, because you go on social media, you see them scroll. Like, I see a lot of that. Oh, I'm a sapiosexual. Like, you know what that
Right.
is, right?
Sapiosexual? Nah,
Yeah.
explain that to me.
It's like there's this one meme where, like, I think someone's licking a brain because they're saying that, oh, I'm not attracted to how you look or anything. I'm attracted to like your mind, more or less, or something like that.
No, like,
That's what people are saying, and it's just like it's one of those law of attraction themes and trends that people are
mm,
on right now, and it's cool. But at the same time, you sit down with that same girl and ask her a couple qualifying questions on what
right.
she's doing and what she thinks and where she's gonna go. She's gonna have some of them have a complete breakdown,
Yeah.
or you know what I mean. And it's
Yeah,
just
I hear
like
you.
you ask them, okay, so you do this, right? Like, um, does it make sense then for you to XYZ? Or you know what I mean? Like you ask these just questions where you're just
Right.
asking, honestly,
Right.
right?
Right.
And at the end of the day, that intellectual engagement is just not there. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's where I really realized that, a lot of people, they're very contradictive towards themselves, because at the end of the day, if you really say that you want something, you have to reflect it or attract it in some kind of way,
Bro, it's like the thing is like, and this is what I don't like about these trends, like the sapio, whatever the fuck it is, right? You can't just be one thing or the other, right? At the end of the day, as human beings, we're such complex creatures, right? So we have to understand that in order to satisfy your spouse, it has to be an element needs to be physical, an element needs to be intellectual, an element needs to be spiritual, perhaps even religious, right? Like because that's who we're made up as human beings. It's like all of these different things, and so you kind of have to match with someone who at least recognizes it.
Mm.
And I'm not even saying that it has to be the same person because that also actually blows up in your face.
Right.
You can't be the
The
same
exact same.
personality
No.
types. You have to almost complement each other,
Right. Exactly.
right? So for us as entrepreneurs, or just people who move at a faster pace, right? I remember having a conversation with a girl a long time ago, and she's like, you just move really fast. I'm like, you're right. I do move fast. And so, you know what I need because I move fast is someone who doesn't move fast. Because I kind of because if you're both moving too fast,
Yeah, it
it
can
kind
get
of
out
it
of
doesn't
hand.
doesn't happen, right?
Yeah.
So they do need to move slow, but that doesn't mean that they have to be slow themselves,
You're right.
right? So they still have to have an element of just the fire, the passion, all of those things. They also need to satisfy you, like just visually.
Right.
And then on top of that, they need to stimulate you intellectually.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why a lot of people just don't find their better half because they um they're satisfied with a missing link, and to me that doesn't make sense.
Right.
Right? Like, how come? Like, okay, well, if that person is like perfect, in terms of shared values, and they're like intellectually keeping you always, going, but then physically you're not attracted to them. How does that work? Or
Right.
vice versa? Like, I mean, I think that would probably work easier than the other route, which is like they're a dime, but they have nothing else to offer.
Right.
So it has to be a balance of things.
Mm-hmm.
And if you compromise, what happens is eventually that one thing that's really not hitting it, it starts to compound. And now every single thing that's even good about that person is no longer good
Right.
because you're just fucking annoyed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So everything now is annoying.
Yo, I've been there. You've probably been there for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely, bro. And, like, I wish I knew these things earlier, but I am glad that I, have learned it along the way, because at the end of the day, my dating process is so much more peaceful.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like a sniper nowadays. You know what I mean? A real sniper. Like, because it just, you're able to like disqualify people just based on what they show you. But, and that's the other thing too, is that like, you got to know what you're also looking for too, right? Yeah. Like deeper than the way that they look like, or they're on right? Like for men, it's got to be deeper than what she looks like. And for women, it's got to be deeper than what he buys you, or how much, the lifestyle that you're living, right? And I feel like that's the reason why most of these people are having a problem, because they can't even recognize what they want when they see it, right? Mm-hmm. So it's just like, okay, does this person notice the little things? Or does this person, how introspective are they when I say, something? Do they take it and go back and think about it and come back to me with a better answer? Or, you know what I mean? Or these little things that at the end of the day, there's no place to put that on paper. It's the nuance of who that person is,
I mean, listen, bro, like you know me, and you know that I'm like very much so like a data-driven person, and like I am very analytical. And I think to whoever's watching, who's in like the dating app game, like what should probably happen, because a lot of like relationships these days are coming through like these dating apps, because like I feel like us as a society, just our social skills have just fucking evaporated.
Right.
Like just come down to Vancouver, British Columbia, and go to this place called fucking Yaletown, and God, you will know what I'm talking about. That's just a separate conversation for a separate day. Right. But like, here's an idea: just do a fucking personality test. Mm-hmm. Right? Like at that matching or whatever it is, like if you're taking it to the next level, I think it's a golden opportunity to whoever is in like the dating app space. I don't know why like apps like Hinge or Tinder, whatever is out there these days, don't have that.
Right.
Because like, how can you even start something and commit to something when you don't know like all of those different things? Like, and that's why like we have fucking AI. Like I opened this conversation saying that we're working on AI because we are.
Yeah.
Like when you have those tools available to you in this day, like our grandparents didn't have that shit. Right. So you have to assess.
Yeah.
And if you don't know how to assess, then you get help to assess, and you just fucking Google it, right? Like this person has this personality type. What will happen? And I'm not talking about the fucking horoscopes, by the way.
Right.
Like that shit is just that to me doesn't make sense. To me, I'm like, okay, I'm like a creature of habit, just like any other human being.
Right.
So if I do this thing and I've always done it and I'm always going to do it, then does my spouse, do they have relatability? Okay, they don't. Well, can they be okay with that and let me do my thing? Okay, so that's fine. Does it bug the shit out of them and that's going to be their breaking point? Well, then fuck, don't go in to that situation in the first place.
Yeah. It's funny because, when you said, oh, why don't these apps, incorporate some of these things into them? The reason why I think is because at the end of the day, they know, like, it's like junk food. Like, why doesn't Coca-Cola, if they know that like it's good for you,
Right.
why don't they
They
just
want more
like
customers, of course.
yeah, they
Yeah.
know that we're just visual creatures, right? And at the end of the day, that's why probably, on these apps, the biggest thing is their picture, because that's all
Yeah.
you're basing it off of, right?
Yeah.
Can I see myself with this person? Can I see myself with this person, right?
Yeah.
That's all it's about. And it's just like, it's basically useless because, I mean, hey, there are people that, I hear they meet on like these, like the apps, and then it works out or whatever, but I hear the problems,
But bro, like it's of course it works out because apparently it always works out. But you also look at the fucking divorce rates, right?
Right.
Like some of the best deals that I've done is like you get 3 transactions out of 1 because the property gets sold because it's a divorce, right?
Yeah.
And you saw it coming from a long time ago, right?
Yeah.
Like I help you buy a house, I'm probably gonna sell it, and then you help them, the wife buy one and the husband buy one. So you've done 4 deals with that one couple.
Crazy.
Right? But you fucking saw it clear as day and you were their fucking realtor.
Yeah.
Like their friends saw it clear as day, but they didn't see it.
Right.
Why? Because it's not like they didn't want to see it. They convinced themselves that it didn't exist.
Right.
There is no problem.
Yeah.
Right? Like, okay, you satisfy me 70%. Fuck it. I'll run with it.
Yeah.
But there comes a time that you can't run with it. And that 30% becomes 70, 80, 90, 99. And now it's just like, bro, I got to get out of this.
Yeah.
Right? So just don't waste 10 years of your life.
Whoa.
Just don't fucking just settle for just anything.
Whoa. That's serious, yo. Yeah. I mean, that's the story of most people's like lives right now, right? Like everybody, bro.
And then you have kids on top of that.
Oh.
And now like you're stuck.
Oh.
Right? And now you're thinking about the well-being of your kids. And now the parents are like in agreement that they're not technically with each other, but they're living under the other roof. So now your kids are finding, like mom was, getting dropped off by this other dude, right? Like, but dad's sleeping. So like to them, it's just like, what the fuck is going on? Like,
yo.
So like those are like the things that have a potential of happening. And we're
not
at
even
that age.
potential. I know girls that they're living with their ex or whatever it is, and I'm not judging, but it's just like, I don't know, like it could have been avoided, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and it's cool, you know what I mean? Like if you're fine enough, then guys will still want to take you out or whatever. But trying to find a guy like us, I don't know. I just don't think so.
I mean, if you're just going back to it, right, bro? Like if you're just down with all of the fuckery that comes in our lives, just in business though, like I think just like mentally, emotionally, spiritually, you and I, when I look at us, like we're pretty set with that. It's just the business, right? Like there's fires every single day.
Right.
So like, and it's not even about us not being able to handle those fires. It's about the time that it takes sometimes.
Right.
So now, okay, well, all of my energy, effort and time is invested into now managing and growing the business. So on top of that, if you don't add to like even just peace, and then you take away from it, like it's just not gonna work.
Right. It won't. You're absolutely right. It's crazy. Sorry, my bad. I thought my phone went, so I was just checking real quick.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, man, that's crazy though. But tell me a little bit more about, because you said that you experienced that at one point, and I can safely say that I haven't experienced that, which I'm looking for.
Right.
I've experienced a lot of amazing things, a lot of beautiful women, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's still not what I was looking for, right? So at the end of the day, like you have experienced that dynamic, and tell me a little bit about that,
bro. It's a beautiful thing, right? Because in that situation, no one really knew that I was dating this person, and no one in their world knew that she was dating this guy, right? And so first of all, what happens there is there's just peace. Because the relationship is between two people.
Right.
Now, unless I'm going to wife you, no one needs to know.
Right.
Because it just causes unnecessary headache for both parties.
100%.
Right? So that's that. Getting synchronicity on that portion alone. Then usually, like, if that person is an entrepreneur, which this person was, like yo, you're a pretty girl, right? And like now, just human beings, like, wouldn't you just have fucking eye candy if you got to deal with a service provider anyway? Like, rather than going for a dude who's equally as competent, you go with a little bit of eye candy.
Yeah.
And like, this girl is gorgeous, right? So, yo, you got to go get business. I got to go get business. So who cares? Like, we're getting the bag together. And that's the beautiful thing about entrepreneurship. Like, only people who understand the dynamics of just human to human behavior will also understand that everything is under a scope. When you're trying to take people's hard-earned money and put it into your hands, right? Like, that involves a lot of not just communication, but emotion, right? Feeling.
Right.
So you don't want to, keep yourself away, in other words, from any sort of opportunities, right? So that's the first thing that, we had agreed on. It is okay. Like, a relationship is a relationship. We have loyalty, we have trust, we have commitment, right? And that's between the two of us and, our close friends and family. So that's that. That's number one. And then number two is, there's going to be times in your business where you're going to be going fucking berserk. And then the same thing with me, right? So a story around that actually was, I moved to Toronto last year. When I did, that move alone cost me, I think, probably close to $50K, shutting down offices, opening offices, transporting vehicle, getting a place, furnishing the place. Like, it's a lot of money, right? And then comes the fucking tax man. Right.
Ontario tax, bro.
Right. So that's that. And then now you're doing business in like different tax areas, but not just that, but now your business is increasing in size, right? And it has over the past year. So now fucking taxes are due. Right. So and then now you're also in a position where the seasonality of business is at its like bottom of the curve. Right. So, this is the situation. We gotta make bread. Because like the monthly expenses of the business are like $40,000-$50,000 a month. And like, dude, so you have a little bit of time. I don't really have time, but I need to leverage your time. So I have this new offer, and we're to start this, like, not a company, but just an offer from an existing company. And I want you to kind of run with it. And this is the offer. This is the game plan. This is the probable client pool. This is their information. This is the cold call strategy. Can we just try to generate, like, I don't know, 20, 30K within the next 3 weeks? So I got to pay like fucking, close to $100,000 to CRA. And like, I'm looking at my expenses for the next 2 months. And like, shit's looking a little bit sketchy. So like, can we get to work here? Yeah, absolutely. Fuck, let's get this done. Right?
Yeah.
That if that is not a relationship and love at its finest, I don't know what the fuck else is. Because for entrepreneurs, our babies, our first babies are our business. Right.
Yeah.
And so when you get a person like that, man, like, I don't even know what else to say, bro. And then so that's okay. So now that's the business part of it. That's the second thing, right? And then the third thing in that situation was just peace.
Ooh, yeah.
Right, like. None of that, where are you? Who are you with?
Yeah.
Who are you meeting? Right? Like, there was actually a situation where I found out after, when I closed the deal, with this girl who apparently I didn't queue in because, like, I'm like, it's just a business meeting, right? So I was trying to close her. Anyway, I did close it, and I think I was partially aware of the fact that, okay, this person probably has, and is a pretty girl too, right? She probably has like some sort of like a physical attraction towards me specifically, because she could be doing business with, more experienced agents, particularly in Toronto, right? Like, but here she is, right? So, and this person that I'm with during that time knew this fully, right? And she saw it, and she was there for that first initial meeting. And then she encouraged me to go on the second, third meeting to close the fucking deal.
That is insane.
Right? Like, and I know that too. Like, she had things in her business where I know that, okay, there's that dude that clearly looks at you and he's like, holy fuck, that girl's pretty, right? And he's going to give you his money.
Yeah.
And he also knows that you're going to do a good job, right? So you're technically doing what you're supposed to do.
Right.
And here I am also doing what I'm supposed to do. So if you take the lack of maturity out from within you, right? And you just objectively look at, okay, I trust the person's committed to me and vice versa, right? We both are, extremely passionate about what it is that we do. Then there is no element of insecurity that even needs to exist.
Exactly, bro. I mean, even as you were just saying that last one, bro, I mean, each one of those got me thinking, but that last one, bro, like I'm just sitting there thinking about how many times was I, doing a music video with some girls, or, it's an artist, or it's just a different kind of client or whatever. And then, or even I'm at a show, and I make the stupid ass decision to bring my girl, right?
Oh, dude.
And then, you got girls coming up to me, like, trying to like talk to me or whatever.
Yo, I've seen that shit with my own eyes.
Yeah, bro.
So many times, bro. Like, you're like, when you finish your shows, like I've seen it with my own eyes, man. Like, it's just like a herd.
Yeah.
Of like girls that just surround you.
But the thing is, right, is like, how can you, as my girl, knowing that you're with an artist, expect me to, in that moment, completely stiff arm all of these, you know what I mean? Like,
but that's your fan base.
That's the fan base. Like, at the end of the day, like,
that's hurting business.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, how am I? And there was a time when actually some girls called me out, yo. You know what I mean? Some girls called me out because I had an event. I put the event out there. I asked people to come through. They came through, and I was with my girl at the time. And then I already knew what the deal was because I'd already been with her for some time. So I was just already like, I seen them. I don't even know if I said what's up because I honestly just felt uncomfortable at that time.
Right.
And then it is what it is. But then later, one of the girls actually hit me up and was like, yo, like, that was kind of wild what you just did. Like, we came out like to your event to support you. Like, you didn't even like say anything.
You didn't even
to
say
me.
hi.
Yeah. And I'm just like, damn, bro.
Like, imagine that, man.
Bro, that was crazy. And I was just like, bro, like, this can't continue like this, because now at this point, this person is now blocking me from doing what I want to do and like
opportunities.
You know what I mean? And was I going to do anything with those girls? Absolutely not. But
in their mind, you were. Like, in her mind, you probably were, right?
Yeah.
Like, because she's like, the insecurity makes not just women, by the way, but also dudes. Like, there's a shit ton of insecure dudes out there that just they fear the worst. Because, like, if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen, bro. Like, dead ass.
Just be. If you have like certain thoughts that are formulated not because of your past experiences, but rather because of certain behaviors that you notice your girl, doing, right? Like, if she's like super, I don't know, like just you could hear ding, 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 and like she's like super secretive about her phone, or she's not like excited about sharing her plans and stuff like that. So those are like cues.
Yeah.
But then, so you're just mindful, but then you don't get insecure and you try to snoop on her or any of that shit, because that's toxic.
Right.
Right. So you don't want to do those things, because you're at that point, you just leave.
Right.
If you even have like a gut feeling, because your gut never lies to you, right?
Right. Yeah, right.
So if you have a gut feeling, don't become that insecure little bitch. Just be like, yo, okay, I feel like something's going on here. Rather than hurting myself, by finding things I don't want to fucking find out. It's clear that this person's character, I just know, let's just move forward,
Right.
right? And so it's not just dudes or girls. There's a ton of insecurity out there, and so if the insecurity exists, and that's going to now block opportunities for you for business, like that's not okay, bro. It should be the other way around, right? So if your girl in that situation was like, bro, like look at my guy,
Yo.
there's bitches surrounding my guy, that's my dude there,
Yeah.
like
He's coming home with me.
he's coming home with me.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's what you would think. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, like you said, at the end of the day, you can't really, like, I don't blame, any girl for it. At the end of the day, I understand because I think it's hard to be anybody these days. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, it's just that, like, it's super frustrating for somebody like us where it's not like we're, like, going to look for that type of attention.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it comes along with what we do. So you can't take one thing and leave the other thing out. It doesn't make sense.
It's just, how do I say it? It's like, it's your followers that believe in you and your business and your product, whether it's you as an artist or you and I servicing real estate agents, whatever it is, like, you have to be in a position where if someone sees you delivering value, that you can recognize it and you can then find a way to provide them more value. For you in that situation could have been conversations with those individuals.
Right.
Right. And so if your spouse now is blocking you from you being able to provide value to your client base or your fan base, that person, because of their own insecurities, are doing what you would never do if you actually truly love that person.
Right. Right.
If you love that person, you take your own insecurities and your fears and you box them up, right, for later, and then you support your dude or your girl so they feel good in that situation. And then if there's any conversations that need to happen, they can happen at a time where there's nothing going on. And hey, listen, I want to express myself here because there's certain things that are on my mind and I just want you to help me just squash them because I know none of these things are actually real. They're fabricated. And so let's work together on it. But again, that just intellect and that competence and a lot of girls and guys is just not there.
It's just not there, yeah.
It's just that fear makes them feel a certain type of way and then they just react. And then they probably potentially lose the best thing that's ever happened to them.
That's the thing. 100%. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's, it is what it is, like, but yeah, man. I mean, what can you do, right? Like,
what can you do, bro?
What can you do except for maintain that standard? And yeah, just never settle, really. At the end of the day,
never settle, man. And when you settle, like, you'll know,
right?
You kind of know, right? Like I look at my past relationship, I'm like, yo, like I shouldn't have settled, But that's the other thing that you just learn with age and more life experiences, where you're like, holy fuck, like I was so oblivious, not because because I chose to be. Right. Because I actually had some glaring fucking red flags in front of me and I just chose to ignore them.
Yeah.
Because, man, she was a fucking dime, right?
Absolutely.
And like, so as you age, like you're from your early 20s to like now I'm about to hit 30, things are a lot different, man. And it's funny because like back then, because you're not whole with yourself, that's the big other thing that we didn't talk about. When you don't love yourself,
right?
When you're not whole with yourself, you always try to compensate that with companionship,
right?
Where you have to like, and that's not even companionship because that's codependency,
right?
So you have to figure out a way to be whole with yourself. To even if you don't have a shit ton of friends, just to be there by yourself with your thoughts, man, and be okay with who you are, and just be fucking proud of who you are, And when that happens, you no longer need validation from anyone,
Right.
including that person that you're supposed to be with. And so if that's the state of mind that you're in, then you'll just attract the right person to you.
Right.
And you know that it's just a matter of the motions and time
Right.
for that to happen, however it's meant to happen.
100%. You know what's so crazy, man? Last night to build on what you're saying, like not only being alone, like, but when you can be alone and not be lonely, that's crazy, right? And that's why at the end of the day, I agree with what you said in that the woman for us has to be passionate about something, because I'm never lonely, because even though I'm
you're
alone,
always alone.
Exactly, right?
And that in itself, like, I don't know, man. I think you need to make a fucking billboard with that shit,
bro. You know what I mean?
To be alone and not lonely. That only happens if you're whole with who you are, yourself.
Yeah, 100%.
That's the only thing. I think that's like the pinnacle of fucking humanity, is to not have to rely on anyone emotionally, physically, but yourself.
Right.
Because you came here by yourself, right? Like not by yourself, but like you came here alone.
And you're going to leave alone too.
And you're going to leave alone. It's going to be only just you and your grave.
Yo.
You have to be whole with yourself.
Yo. It's crazy.
Because then also on the other side, bro, if you're not whole with yourself, if you don't love yourself enough, then how are you supposed to even pour from like an empty cup? Right? Like,
yeah.
And that's like a lot of people get into relationships because they don't feel whole. So they feel like, okay, well, I take 2 cups and now I have a fucking like a jar that's filled with those 2 people.
Yeah.
But then that's still like, it's not individual.
Empties.
It leaves 2 empties. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So you had to compromise for that to happen.
Yeah.
So that's codependency.
Exactly.
Right. So and that's just where a lot of people go wrong. A lot of people on the apps, particularly, they go wrong when they have like expectations or like timelines. Like we haven't even talked about like a lot of what happens in like the brown South Asian community and our culture,
right?
Where the fucking parents are just like, including mine, by the way, are so like infatuated with you finding someone and getting married and starting a family, all of those things. So now this poor community, these kids are being pressured by their parents to like go meet people,
right?
to like find someone.
That's so crazy.
But you know very well when you chase something, that thing just leaves.
Right.
So you can't chase. You just have to be in the moment, and you have to be whole with yourself.
Absolutely, bro. Wow. That's crazy. No, I've seen it. By the way, I've seen the applications that this guy receives for a wife. Like, it's crazy. Like, when I seen that shit, I was really like, whoa. Like, imagine what like life would be like. That's super dope. And I definitely encourage Black people to start, you know what I mean? Like, let's get this together. If, you know, maybe I could try and put something together that, you know, submit your, you know, children. And then it was crazy. It was beautiful because it really looked like it was like a bio or like a short.
Yeah, it's called biodata.
It's called a biodata?
Biodata.
Stop.
I think biodata. Yeah.
Stop.
And like it's so funny. It's like the moms that like compile their kids' biodata.
Yeah.
And then they distribute the biodata. And then this whole fucking community of however many thousands of people like they rip apart the bio datas of like thousands of like single men and women, and then they like it's just like this like coveted like community of like this app, like what the apps do, but like it's happening manually and like the parents are involved.
Yeah.
Because somehow in our culture, the parents apparently just have the one fucking job in their entire life, which is to get their kids married.
Right.
I don't know, man. And so now you have like your mom, like sending you like fucking applications and pictures of these girls and asking you to pick one. Like, what the fuck?
Wild. Yeah.
Like hundreds.
Yo.
right?
Yeah.
And like, like now, like, yo, I'm busy now, but there was a day I wasn't busy, right? So like what happens out of that? It's just, there's no substance to it. You didn't meet them organically. You have sure their bio data, but like what people say, especially to their parents,
Right,
is
right, right.
very different than who they actually are.
Right.
Right. So now you're just like, you know, you're going on dates, you know, you're having a good time, but it's nothing to do with the actual fundamental purpose. So in other words, like, especially during the time where I had time, you know, I was a single young dude, like my mom was my biggest pimp.
Wow.
Like my mom literally fucking pimped me.
Wow.
And it was beautiful.
Yeah.
For a young dude, especially.
Amen.
Right? Amen to that.
Yeah.
But that's how fucked up this shit is, man. Like,
what?
It's wild.
Yo, bro. Yeah, man. I mean, honestly, it was lovely to see it. You know what I mean? Because I had never seen it, right? Like,
Yeah.
and honestly, like, yeah, man. I mean, you know, I feel like it's got to at least make the dating process easier, though, right? Because, like,
I mean, it does. I'm not gonna lie, it does work for a lot of people because, yeah, I mean, like, because, like, also you have to think about it generationally. Like, there is a handoff on those values and principles, and so when an entire community is infatuated with the concept of marriage, I mean, there's a reason why brown people spend the most amount of money on weddings. It's like that one biggest life event to them that matters over all else. So there's certainly success stories with that stuff, but unfortunately there's more, future divorces that end up happening than success stories because you force the situation.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Like, okay, my daughter needs to get married and my son needs to get married. Okay, so like someone else's son needs to get married. Okay, so that, like let's try to now force that to happen.
Yeah.
Despite what the kid. Now, there's people out there, obviously, like I've always been a guy who just doesn't follow like the cultural or societal norms. I've always been very like myself in how I want to live my life. Right. So I always say to people, like my own family, I tell them like, yo, I'm the black sheep of this fucking family because everyone does things in a very certain way. For example, in my culture, tattoos are not allowed and I'm fully fucking inked everywhere. Right. So I do what I want to do, in other words. And so there's no fucking person, and I literally just had this conversation with my mom the other day, which is,